So with the LS swapped Honda Accord, we have two lists. The list of things that still need to get done and the list of things that already are done. Now these lists, they're switching. We got a lot more things done than the things that we still need to get done. We're getting things knocked out. This car is gonna be on the road before we know it.
And now, you're watching all of your old fireworks videos is just as interesting as watching a bingo game at a nursing home channel of YouTube. Welcome to Bode Vision.
Hey, so what's happening? Thank you so much for joining me. So the last couple of videos, I know for sure the last two, and even this one, right at the beginning, I just want to give you a recap because I've been doing a lot of the meh stuff and I'm not filming a lot of that, but I could just fill you in and it's just as effective. So all the brakes, everything, brake master cylinder right there. The brake lines are completely bled. We have brakes, that's all good. That moves from the list of still needs to get done to the list of done. Brakes knocked out. Also, we have the clutch. The clutch is 100% bled, all good. My rugrat sheets is in the way right now because I was doing a little bit of welding inside and I didn't want sparks to get up on the inside of the windshield. So brakes done, clutch done, all the heater lines are done, coolant lines are done. So all this, that's for my catch can. That goes in there. This is my little switch for if I want to turn heat on or not. I'm gonna have a wire going inside and it's just gonna move this over. So if I want to turn the heat on, that'll open up the hot lines to go inside to the heater core, which is right there. You can see the top of it just a little bit. That'll be behind the dash. My expansion tank is all set up. So all the heater lines are set up. All the radiator lines are set up. That's another system that moves from still needs to get done to done. Now also, we have the e-brake. So as you can see right here, that's the Accord e-brake. These are the cables for the GTO and we have everything working exactly like it should. Now this was a little bit more challenging to figure out because I had to merge two systems that had never been together before. I still wanted to use this handle because it's brown, it matches the interior, it looks nice and OEM, and that looks really good. So what we have right here, this is a M6x1 rod and this was part of this handle. As you can see, that moves right there. And then we had this piece, this used to be over there, and then the Accord cables came up and through the car and into this one. So the Accord cables and that whole system, this was a little bit longer because the GTO cables went to about right there, and then they had one single cable that went to the e-brake handle. So that cable couldn't be transferred because these two things were a little bit different. So we have this right here and how I extended it. This is a M6x1 coupler nut with two regular nuts to lock it in, and this is a M6x1 piece of all thread, and it goes all the way to right there. And then all these pieces are the same as what was on the Accord to work with this, because that's M6, this is also M6, therefore this is M6. So when I want to tighten them, I still have this adjustability right there. Now that is working exactly like it should. And then also bringing back around to here, I finished off and capped off the floor. Did a little bit of a design there, a little bit of design there. That's capping it off from the inside. There's also some other stuff on the inside as well. So that's 2 layers thick with paint in between so that way it's not gonna rust. That looks really good. That looks really good. So now the only thing left to do is to start to work on the floor up here. So I want to draw it out. Then once I get it drawn out, we're gonna go straight into cutting it and then figuring out my design that I wanna do. pieces of that. So now we have this piece. Now this piece was pretty easy because we just had to make it rectangular, and I wanted to do that as opposed to worrying about what all these contours are because we have a smaller piece now. So this is gonna go underneath it, and then comes something like that. And then I'm gonna mark this and then cut off the excess, tack it underneath with doing a lap joint, and then this is all going to be treated and then eventually welded in over there. So I think I'm gonna do that. Once I do that, then we gotta start to draw out and map out the piece that's going to go back here with a similar pattern. So, oh, we gotta make sure this is straight. I think we gotta get this 100%.
Yep. Yep.
Alright, so as you just saw, we just did this piece, and then actually after I put the camera down and until right now, I went ahead and did this side one, which will be up a little bit better. That corner one right there, the corner one right there, this corner one, the one next to the tank, the one next to the tank over there, and this edge that actually rolls down to give it a little bit more strength. Same with that edge right there next to the gas tank, rolls down as well. And then we're gonna have some nice insulation between the gas tank and the floor just to keep the tank in there solidly, and so that way it can move around just a little bit. I don't want to have the tank being pushed up upon. I want it to have just a little bit of room. And one thing about the bead rolls is not just the fact that they look really cool, but the fact that they add strength. And keep in mind, this is going to be 100% covered up. We're gonna go with sound deadening on top and then carpet on top of that. You will never ever see this unless you see it from the bottom, but the frame, the diff, everything else is in the way. So this is really just because I like it. It adds strength, and if you're gonna do it, might as well make it look cool. Alright, so it is actually the next day now. The bottom of these are completely dried and treated, so they're not going to rust. They're going to hold up to all the elements, and that paint that I used, that is really good stuff. So the next thing that I did is I went ahead and I marked out all of these holes nice and equally spaced apart. So there's all of these, and then there's all of these, and then I put that panel in there, and then with a marker I used a yellow paint marker so that way I can mark out where all of those holes are going to lay, right there, right there, right there, right there, and right there. And then I cleaned that out, so now when I put that panel in, I can go ahead and put that down, and that's called a rosette weld. When you weld that in like that, it's like a spot weld, but if you don't have a spot welder, that works just fine as well. So there's paint everywhere, paint underneath, paint on the bars, and the paint is clean just a little bit in the area where you're going to need to weld, so I think that's gonna be good. So I guess the next thing to do, let's go ahead and put this in there and weld it in, and I got that piece in already. And I got that painted at the end of yesterday. I wanted that to dry so that way we can keep making progress. So as you can see, that's welded in there and that looks really good. Now again, at the end of the day yesterday, I went ahead and I put that undercoating, that black paint all over the panel that I did because I didn't want it to rust overnight because it was gonna rain a whole bunch, and it does rust. So I figured that we didn't need to paint it, and also I didn't paint any of the areas that I needed to weld on today. So that was all good. So the entire underneath is painted with that rubberized under paint, that roll-on paint. Like I said, that's really good stuff, but it's expensive and I actually ran out of it. Now we just have all this up here that needs to be painted, so I figured I'm just gonna go ahead and prime that because that's gonna get all kinds of stuff on top of it as well. Where it really matters underneath is good. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I got it all masked off. I'm just gonna spray just on these areas, just in here. We got the tank masked off, BC Racing coilovers masked off. Now let's get this thing sprayed. And to not see the frame inside the car, the frame is now actually outside the car, but we didn't move the frame at all. I think it looks really good. Now obviously there's still a couple pieces that I need to get, but we ran out of metal. There's those corners up there, also this longer piece. Because of that sway bar, we're gonna have to put an additional piece that has a little arch to it, and that's why I left this like this, so that way I can go ahead and weld to the fresh metal up there, and that'll be all good. And again, the reason why I wanted to paint this is because I'm probably not going to be here tomorrow. I don't want it to get all rusty and then have to go backwards. I'm just going to want to prep the areas that I need to weld. I'll just use a flap disc, get the metal clean, and then weld where I need to. So this looks really good. What I really wanted to work towards was getting the car going, but doing certain things, you gotta put what needs to get done before the things that you want to get done. So that's what I had to do with this, and I'm definitely happy with it because now it's 98% behind us. So the top looks how it looks, and then coming underneath, now it's hard to tell. Let me grab the light. It's hard to tell underneath what's old Accord and what's new that we added, and man, I am really excited for how it looks. Let's see. So if you can see, there's all my stuff looking good, painted, undercoated. There's my brand new brake line right there. You can see the transmission right through there. Floor that was already painted before we put it in. And now all of that is behind us. Everything with the engine is pretty much ready to go. The drive shaft is being made as we speak. So as soon as I get the drive shaft, I'm putting it in and we're hitting the road. that'll be very soon. As far as merch, everything completely sold out. The only thing that I have a little bit left of is the retro trucker hat. So if you're interested in that, that'll be in the description below. And if you order one, I'd really appreciate that. I'd really appreciate it if you like this video, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next one. I guess that's it. I'm out.